Hey there, welcome to this last chapter of Cultivating Peace. That's right, we are in chapter 8, Cultivating Peace in Work. And I cannot believe we're actually here, but I don't want to spend too much time talking about it because we are going to be able to have one more week we get together, which is next week. But this week, I want to talk about how to cultivate peace in work. And I thought it's appropriate for you to kind of see a little bit about the work that I do and how I view work, right? And so each week that we've been doing these videos, I have come to you from a different place, right? I've come to you from my office, which is where we are now. I've come to you from my basement, which has all those pretty blue colors and that shiplap and all those beach pictures because it's my favorite spot. I have come to you from outside in my backyard. I have come to you from a beach house. I have come to you from lots of different places because work isn't necessarily about a location, an office, a house or whatever. It's about the people that we're serving and the things that God has given us to do for the day. So I want to kind of share with you just a little bit. I'm going to get a little close to the camera, but I want to share with you a couple things. We're going to take a little walk, right? And I'm going to turn the camera around. So he's like, oh, I don't think I can do that. But anyway, so here's what we're going to do. This part right here, this is also part of my work, right? That laundry room, and it never, ever, ever goes away. It happens to be empty today because I just finished laundry. But guess what? I also have work here in my kitchen. See all those dishes? Yeah, I'm going to have to put those away in a little bit. And there's mess on the counter, right? These are things just left out, right? And so I've got to take care of all of this space as well. And this is also the work that I do. I have 2 dogs who happen to be mysteriously absent at the moment, but I have to take care of them. I have a son who is upstairs right now. We have lots of things in our daily lives that constitute work for us, don't we? Right? From cleaning to taking care of the people in our life, to taking care of our animals, to doing the work that we might actually get paid to do. And all of that sums up into this big, huge ball of how do I get it all done? And what does it mean to really have peace in all of that work that we do? Well, I hope that this week as you read through the chapter that you start recognizing that cultivating peace in work is not necessarily about the kind of work that we do. It's about redefining what it is that we see as work and how we see it, right? We are told in Colossians that we are to work as though working for the Lord. And often that becomes a source of guilt because I'm not doing this well enough. I'm not appreciating what I have. I should be happy I have a job. I should be happy I have a house to clean. Any of those thoughts ever come through your head? Yeah, mine too, right? And that is not necessarily a healthy attitude in how we're looking at how to work as though we're working for the Lord. And so in this week's blog, I kind of discuss what that really looks like and what that really means. So I hope you'll take a look at that. But a couple things that I wanted to point out to you from this particular chapter is that the work that we do often defines who we are. And we find that the definition of who we are based on the work that we do matters more than I think we ever anticipate. Like if we're a teacher, we want to be a great teacher. But if we're a stay-at-home mom, we say we're just a stay-at-home mom, or I'm just a kindergarten teacher, right? You use those qualifiers just in front of things. And maybe you are a CEO or corporate executive, and you're able to say, I am the la 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 of whatever, right? Those are okay things to do, but that's not who you are. And I think one of the ways that we need to learn to cultivate peace within the work that we do is to not allow that work to define us. It is not who we are. It is a task that we've been given. And if we're operating in the way that God has designed for us to operate, it's part of His purposes and His plans for which we were created. And that, I think, is the crux of this. So often we see the work we do as just some other task, some other thing that we just have to get through so that we can do, something else. Well, what if we were to look at all of the work that we do, from laundry and toilets to running, Fortune 500 companies, as opportunities for us to glorify God in how we treat those, from the people that we have to the tasks that we do. And it's this premise that is the basis for how we are cultivating peace. You see, God gives us things each and every day to do. And we probably have gotten into those ruts where we haven't checked in with God in a while about, is this the work we're supposed to do? Is this what it means to be working for you? And we may be in a place where we're going, well, I'm not quite sure what I'm doing is actually what God wants me to do. That could be a source of some chaos for you, right? Other sources of chaos for you may be that you're trying to figure out how to do all of it well and you're not able to do any of it well enough, right? And that can be a source of chaos. Or maybe there are sources of chaos for you in the fact that you are doing something that you don't want to do. Maybe you're at home and you don't want to be home anymore. You long to go back to your work, your job, your career, whatever you had before kids. Or maybe you are at work wanting to be home all day long and you're missing your babies, you're missing taking care of your home, you're missing that idea of what it means to raise the family that you have. And so there's this chaos within you because you don't know what it is you're supposed to be doing and it doesn't feel right. I get it, right? And this is the same thing that we've been talking about in every other chapter in this book. It's time to put that stuff in front of us and hand it over to God and ask him, okay, what does this look like, God? If there's a desire in your heart to want to stay home, ask him how you can make that happen. Is that part of his plan, and how is that going to work? And if not, to remove desire from your heart. If your desire is to go out and work in a community outside of your home, then ask God to help make that happen. And if that's not part of his plan, to help him remove that desire from you and find ways to find joy in what you have in front of you. But in the meantime, while we're waiting for that transition to happen that God might be giving to us, there are some essential things that we need to do that will cultivate peace for us starting today, right? The first thing is to remember that comparison kills. It kills, y'all. If you're comparing your life to what you had in the past, if you're comparing your current life to what you want in the future, if you're comparing your life to anybody else's life, you are killing off the joy, the peace, and the passion you could be developing for what you are doing right now. Because what God has given you to do right now is important. So comparison kills. The second thing is that there is no perfect scenario, right? When I was working, I used to think it would be so much easier to just be home, and that was the only responsibility I had. All of you stay-at-home moms out there are laughing at me right now because seriously, it's not easier. It just isn't. I used to think that if I could figure out a way to get my kids to do whatever they need to do so I could get some work done, that I would be the perfect scenario, but they don't operate like that, do they? Here's the thing, there is no perfect scenario. There is no right way to do it all so that there's peace constantly. There's going to be upheaval and unexpected and mess. The difference is, are we trusting God with all of that, or are we trying to manipulate it and move it into what we think needs to happen? The third thing to remember is that we all have influence. One of the chief peace stealers in our roles as women is that we don't believe we have influence because we are either too diminished in our capacity at work, nobody listens to us, we're just a stay-at-home mom, or whatever other way you want to describe yourself in a diminutive fashion. We don't believe we have influence, but let me tell you, you influence people every single day. You influence people just by driving your car down the road. You influence your children just by how you react to them and to the stresses you have in your life. You influence your husband when you share the thoughts and feelings and desires and intelligence that you have been gifted with. You influence your coworkers by the way you behave. Are you influencing them in the way that honors God? That is how we start learning to cultivate peace in work. We recognize that we all have influence, and are we using it according to the gifts and talents, abilities, and skills that God has blessed us with? The fourth thing is to examine your expectations. Y'all, we can get some expectations, can't we? I mean, we can set the bar incredibly high for us to have to achieve, knowing that everybody else is okay, but we have to achieve higher. Oh, can we just stop and examine those expectations? Who was it that decided your house had to be perfectly clean all the time? Who was it that decided that you couldn't have a mess when your kids were playing? Who was it that decided you had to work full-time and make sure you were the best parent ever for the kids you're given, which means, home cooking everything and baking from scratch for the school bake sale or whatever? Whose standard are you living up to? Whose expectations are you trying to please? Look at what God's expectations are for you, and I promise you there'll be more peace there than you ever thought possible. The fifth thing is that routines are essential. I talked about this a little bit last week. I'm talking about it a little bit this week as well, but you've got to get some routines in place to help you maneuver from one task each, during your day to the next, right? From being with your kids to being at the job you might have to do to being with your husband to taking care of your home. There are routines that are essential to create. And I know that you're like, I don't even know what routines to create. I get it. This post is too short. We can't do that in this particular post, but I would love to help you create some routines. That's what the mini personal coaching is that I offer. That's what the schedule management coaching is that I offer. It's about helping you create those routines to help live out the priorities of your life, right? But you can create routines without me. You don't need me. You look around and say, what do I want to get done? And how do I do it? Start with what you want the day to look like at the end of the day and work backwards. What do you need to make sure that happens? That is a key strategy right there. And then the sixth thing is that we need to learn to pay attention to the fact that we are to work and play and rest. I know y'all don't want to hear this. You're going to tell me right through that screen, well, how on earth am I supposed to rest? And I got all this other stuff to do. I get it. But can I tell you this? There will always be things to do. But you won't always be around if you don't take the time to play and rest as well as work. I get it. I know you're shouldering a ton of things. And I know I'm not speaking truth that you don't know. The problem is you don't know how. So it's time to get on your knees and say, God, show me how. I know I'm supposed to rest. Your word commands that we rest. How do I do that? Show me. He honors a faithful heart that wants to learn and wants to do what he has in mind. He will honor this request. It may take time, and that's okay. It takes time to set up new routines. It takes time to set up new procedures for how you do things. It takes time, and there will be relief along the way. So cultivating peace in work isn't about whether or not we work inside the home or outside the home. It's not about getting a job or not getting a job. What it is about looking at everything that we have each and every day and doing whatever it is in front of us to the glory of God. And in that, there can be peace. So I hope that helps you this week as you work through this chapter. As always, if you have any questions, I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a great day.